Just before my heart gave out, it felt like something yanked me straight out of my body. My eyes shot open, and my throat released a name that startled even me, Frosty. I had no idea why it surfaced, buried so deep in my subconscious. Yet in that moment, it rang out like a sacred calling across the edge of life and death. I collapsed right after, my heart stopping for a full 20 minutes. But this wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't a dream brought on by lack of oxygen. It was the moment I left my body and entered what I can only describe now as eternity. But who was Frosty, and why that name? My name is Ethan Mallory. I'm 52 years old, a retired fighter. I once believed strength could shield me from anything, even fate. I lived with my wife and daughter in Asheville, North Carolina. My daughter, Anna, was born with Rett syndrome. She couldn't speak, walk, or feed herself. But her eyes always looked at me like she was trying to say something no words could ever express. That look was what got me out of bed every morning, even when my body ached and my mind felt hollow. I often asked myself, if I were gone, who would stay behind for her? That's why I agreed to travel to Pittsburgh for neck surgery. It was a modern technique offered by a Korean doctor. Instead of cutting through the back of my neck and leaving me in lifelong pain, he would make a small incision at the front. I thought once the surgery was over, I'd be strong again, ready to keep caring for my daughter. But 3 days after coming home, just when everything seemed to be going well, the heart attack hit like a fatal strike from destiny. I cried out in the night, the pain so overwhelming that the world around me turned blurry and meaningless. Then came the darkness, then the weightlessness, then Frosty. At that moment, I didn't realize I had entered a space where every boundary began to dissolve. I was no longer myself. I had become part of something much greater. But before I tell you about the light, about the infinite universe, and how the soul of my daughter finally spoke to me, I need you to remember that everything began with pain, with a scream, and with a name that seemed completely random. So, if there's a name buried deep in your subconscious, have you ever wondered if it might be the key that unlocks the other side? Have you ever asked yourself, if one day you suddenly collapse, would the first thing that rises from your mind be the one thing you regret most, or the one thing you've never truly understood? I'm going to tell you exactly what happened when I left my body, and why I believe every one of us has already met God, only we've forgotten. The real question is, are you ready to remember? Before I died, I thought I understood life. I thought I knew pain. I had broken bones, torn ligaments, taken punches to the face so hard they filled my mouth with blood. And still, I got back up. I used to believe that if I was strong enough, I could stand against the whole world. But no punch inside the cage, no training session in the gym could have prepared me for what I was about to go through. No one ever taught me that sometimes what takes you down is not a hit, but a letting go from deep within. Have you ever felt certain you were strong, only to realize it's your own body that betrays you? When I retired, I never imagined I would become a full-time caregiver for a disabled daughter. But when we learned Anna had Rett syndrome, everything changed. I remember asking, why my daughter? Why should a small, innocent soul who had done nothing wrong be trapped in a body that wouldn't let her speak or move freely? I never found an answer. All I knew was that whenever I saw her trying to form sounds that never came out, when her trembling hands reached toward me, I felt something more sacred than words. Love doesn't always need to be spoken. It only needs to be present. I took her everywhere, from hospital to hospital, from one therapy to the next. There were moments I was so exhausted I just wanted to disappear, but Anna's eyes pulled me back. Every time I felt like giving up, she would have another seizure, and I'd remember I couldn't quit. I was her legs, her voice, her anchor in this world. I used to think love was a feeling, but being Anna's father taught me that love is action. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you would trade your entire life so that they could take another breath? I decided on neck surgery quickly. I didn't want to keep living with pain gnawing at every vertebra, every sleepless night, every movement that made me wince. The doctor assured me the new procedure was safe, fast, and low risk, and the surgery was a success. I left Pittsburgh and returned home with the hope of starting fresh. What I didn't know was that just as I believed I had made it through, fate had one final blow waiting for me, right around the bend. That night, as I writhed in bed, my whole body trembling and my mouth gasping out sounds I couldn't form into words, Melanie thought Anna was having a seizure. But no, this time it was me. And the last thing I remember before my heart stopped was the panic in my wife's eyes and the muffled sound of my voice trying to cry out. This time, I had no strength left to fight. I let go. And it was in that very moment that something strange began. But wait, have you ever wondered what happens the moment your heart stops beating? Up next, I'll tell you what it felt like to drift out of my body and why I didn't want to come back. Do you think you're ready to hear that? I don't remember what it felt like when my heart stopped, but I remember what came after with absolute clarity. There was no explosion, no blinding light, no angels with white wings or heavenly music. There was only complete, profound silence, the kind of stillness that makes the whole universe seem to pause. I felt myself rising, gently, as if I had just shed a suit of armor that had confined me my entire life. And when I looked down, I saw myself. My body was lying still on the stretcher, eyes wide open, mouth ajar, chest no longer rising. I knew it was me, but the strange thing was, I didn't feel afraid. I didn't feel pain. I just felt compassion. I saw Melanie crying out in anguish. I saw Dr. Patel and the nurses working frantically, pumping my chest, shocking my heart, and injecting medication. I saw the young nurse trembling as she pierced a needle into my heart, and I saw myself, cold, silent, unmoving. Everything played out like a slow-motion film. I began to drift farther away from the hospital room, away from my body, away from everything I once believed to be real. So, if what you call your body is just a temporary shell, what exactly is the real you? I found myself floating through a thick, dark space. Not darkness like the absence of light, but a space with substance, like ink and water, like shadow with weight. I wasn't standing, or sitting, or lying down. I was simply existing. I didn't know where I was, but I knew one thing for certain. I was no longer on Earth. Then suddenly, a light appeared ahead. It wasn't like sunlight or a lamp. It was a living light, a light with awareness. It didn't dazzle, but it drew me in like a warm embrace after a long, cold winter. Have you ever encountered a light that made you feel seen, forgiven, and completely loved? I was pulled toward it. With every step I took closer, it felt like I was shedding a layer, a fear, a wound, a burden I didn't even know I had been carrying. Then I heard a sound. I couldn't tell if it was music or a voice. It was more like vibration. And that sound spoke to me, not through my ears, but through every fiber of my being. You are a part of everything, and everything is a part of you. Sounds cliché? Maybe. But when you experience it, you stop mocking old spiritual sayings. You just cry, because you realize you were never as alone as you thought. In that moment, something miraculous happened. I saw my daughter, Anna, but not the fragile form I cared for every day. No more seizures were shaking her small frame, no more distant eyes trapped behind silence. Standing before me was a radiant soul, shining like the sun, smiling at me and calling out, "Dad." My breath caught. For 12 years, she had never been able to say a single word. And yet here, in this realm of light, she spoke. Her voice was warm, sweet, and resonant, like some ancient song I had once known in a lifetime long before this one. I wanted to hold her, but I had no hands. I wanted to cry, but there were no tears. All I knew was that I had just found what mattered most in my entire life. But how could I leave this place? How could I return to a world filled with pain and loss? And just when I felt I could never go back, a memory appeared unexpectedly and vivid, of a dog named Frosty. That single, forgotten fragment from my childhood changed everything. Have you ever wondered if something you've long buried in the past, some small, seemingly meaningless memory, might one day become the key that brings you back to life? I was ready to stay. In that place, there was no time, no hunger, no pain. There, I was no longer a tired father, a heart attack patient, no longer a retired fighter carrying wounds that had lingered for years. There, I was part of the light, part of love, part of truth. But just as I was about to dissolve into that light, an image appeared. It was clear, as if etched into space itself. A patch of wild grass, a skinny boy with scraped knees, and a gray curly-haired dog was licking his hand. My heart sank. I knew that place. I knew that boy. I knew that dog. And I knew its name was Frosty. Frosty was the first dog I ever had. We were poor growing up. My mom raised 3 boys on her own. I didn't have toys, a bike, or a Nintendo like the other kids, but I had Frosty. He was a mutt found near the dumpster behind the local market. My mom didn't want to keep him, but I begged. I said, I promise I'll take care of him. And I did. I walked him every morning, fed him leftovers every night. He couldn't speak, but I always believed he understood me. When I was sad, he sat beside me. When I was bullied, he growled. When I was sick, he lay by my bed and never left. Have you ever had a small creature make you feel completely and unconditionally loved? One summer afternoon, I slipped and fell into the river near our house. The current was strong, I was only 8, and I didn't know how to swim. I remember struggling, choking on water, and then something pulling me up. It wasn't a person, it was Frosty. He barked like crazy, bit onto my shirt, and dragged me to the bank. When I woke up, he was lying next to me, soaked and shivering, but still there. From that day on, the name Frosty was carved into my heart as a symbol of life. But you know what? I forgot him, completely. As I grew older, I got busy making money, busy training, busy falling in love, busy being a father. Then Frosty died, and I didn't remember him anymore. Not until I died.
Why? Out of all the memories, out of all the people in my life, why did I cry out that name when my heart stopped? Why not my mother's name, or my wife's, or my daughter's? Why Frosty? And then I understood. Frosty was my first memory of unconditional love. A love that didn't require understanding, explanation, or promises. Just presence. Just loyalty. Just never leaving. And the light that was holding me in that moment was the very essence of that feeling, brought back by a dog, by a single act of rescue. Maybe God is love, but sometimes love has wet fur and curly hair. As that memory returned, I began to cry not with tears, but with my soul. I whispered into that invisible space, I want to go back. Not because I regretted life, but because I wanted to give back the love I had once been given. I wanted to tell my wife I heard her crying. I wanted to hold my daughter and whisper, you are not alone. I didn't want to return because I feared death. I wanted to return because, for the first time, I finally understood what it means to live. But coming back wasn't easy. In the next part, I'll tell you what happened when I tried to return, when my body was cold, my heart had stopped, and the doctors had nearly given up. What made them keep going for one more minute? Do you believe in a wife's intuition? I used to think I was grown, that I had lived long enough to know what truly mattered. But it wasn't until I died that I realized some of the smallest things are the very foundation of our soul. The memory of Frosty wasn't just about a dog. It was a memory of who I used to be before the world tried to shape me, before pressure pushed me off center, before I stopped believing in miracles, before I stopped listening to the wind, before I stopped loving without needing anything in return. Why do we always forget the most beautiful version of ourselves just to chase a version that's never enough? I began to see my entire life pass before me like a stream of moving images. Not in order, but like a shattered mirror reflecting every fragment of time all at once. I saw myself crying for the first time over loss. I saw myself snapping at my wife simply because I was exhausted. I saw myself ignoring my daughter's eyes when she just wanted a hug. And I saw all the moments I had rejected kindness because I was afraid of being misunderstood. No one judged me, no one condemned me, but I saw myself and I couldn't look away. How many of us can truly face our soul as if standing before a mirror and not turn away? And yet I wasn't alone. I felt the presence of countless souls around me, not seen, but deeply sensed. A connection beyond language, beyond blood, beyond logic. A mother long gone, an old neighbor, a stranger who once brushed past me on the street. All of them like delicate threads of light woven into a vast and steady network we call existence. And I understood life isn't independence as I once believed. It is a conscious belonging to something greater. If every soul is a note, then together we are composing a symphony far larger than ourselves. So, what kind of music do you want your note to carry? The memory of Frosty was the first note in my symphony. It wasn't perfect, but it was true. It reminded me that I had been loved, not for who I was trying to be, but simply for being me. And if a stray dog could teach me that, then surely I could learn again how to love myself and others. Maybe God doesn't always appear in shining glory. Maybe sometimes He shows up in a glance, in a lick on the hand, in a memory you thought was long dead. The real question is, can you be still enough to notice? And that was the moment I whispered, I want to go back. But how does a soul return to a body whose heart has stopped for 20 minutes? I'm going to take you to that moment between life and death, where a single decision, a whisper even, can change everything. Have you ever believed that just one gentle voice might be enough to call someone back from the edge? I don't know when exactly coming back began. There was no gate slamming shut, no hand pulling me down. There was only my whisper, I want to go back. And I felt a soft tremor ripple through my soul, as if the universe itself was asking, are you sure? I didn't answer. I just remembered Anna's eyes, the sound of her voice saying Dad one last time, and the image of Frosty standing behind her, quietly, as if ready to let me go once more. Then I fell. Not stumbled, fell, in every sense of the word. From a weightless place, I was pulled back into something heavy we call the world. When I opened my eyes, the white light hit my retinas like lightning. The first sound I heard wasn't someone calling my name. It was the steady beep, beep, beep of the heart monitor. Maybe the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. The sound of a heartbeat, my own. I couldn't speak, I couldn't move, but I knew I was alive. And that feeling was different than before. It wasn't survival, it was resurrection, a second chance. Not to fix unfinished business, but to finally live truthfully. Dr. Patel later told me that after 20 minutes without a pulse, he was about to sign the death certificate. But Melanie, my wife, wouldn't let him. She cried out through her tears. He's not gone. I know he's still here. Just one more minute. Please, one more minute. And when the doctor agreed to shock my heart one last time, it started beating again. Just 1 minute, one heartbeat, one choice between letting go and holding on. Do you believe that when two people are deeply connected, their souls can still reach each other, even across the veil between life and death? I stayed in the hospital for another week. No one could explain why my brain had no major damage. No one could understand how I remembered every detail after being clinically dead for over 20 minutes. I didn't explain. I simply looked at Melanie, held her hand, and for the first time in years whispered, I'm sorry, and thank you. I was no longer the man I used to be. I no longer wanted to be the winner. I wanted to be present, with my daughter, with my wife, with myself. I quit my job. I sold the gym. I moved to a quiet house in the hills near the lake, where mornings are filled with fog and birdsong. I started writing, not to be known, but to know myself. I created a small group for parents of children with disabilities. We didn't heal each other with advice, but with listening. I'm no longer afraid of death, because I've been there, and if death holds that much love, then maybe what's truly terrifying is living without knowing how to love. But something strange happened after I came back. Signs started appearing around me, clocks stopping at exactly 3:33, a little girl in a bookstore looking at me and calling me Dad, and one night I heard a familiar bark outside my porch. I'll tell you more about these signs, which I believe are messages from God, reminding me this journey isn't over. Have you ever received a sign from the universe, but dismissed it as a mere coincidence? Life after death isn't a reward, it's a reminder that if you're still breathing, you still carry the responsibility of being fully present in each moment. I began seeing the world with new eyes. Things that used to irritate me, traffic jams, crying children, the bad news cycle, became invitations to slow down and notice my reactions. I stopped chasing goals, achievements, and recognition. Instead, I sit with my daughter each morning, hold her hand, and just look at her. We don't speak, but it feels like we share a language of presence. I saw myself changing in small ways. I used to give advice when someone shared their pain. Now I simply listen. Because I've learned that pain doesn't need to be fixed, it just needs to be seen. I no longer try to heal people, I create space for them to heal on their own. I used to think I had to be strong for others. Now I understand that vulnerability is the real doorway to connection. Then the strange things began to happen, not in a dramatic, movie-like way, but more like intentional coincidences. For 3 nights in a row, the digital clock in my living room stopped at exactly 3:33 a.m., almost the precise time my heart had stopped. I changed the batteries, I even replaced the clock, but it still froze at the same time. When I told Melanie, she just smiled gently and said, "Maybe someone's trying to remind you." Then I received an email from a stranger who had read a post I shared in a support group. They said my words had helped them decide not to take their own life. One afternoon, I wandered into a used bookstore. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, ran up to me, grabbed my hand, and looked up. "Has Dad come home yet?" she asked. Her mother rushed over, apologizing as she pulled the girl away. I stood there, speechless. That question stayed with me for a week. Then one night, I heard a soft bark outside my door. I opened it. No one was there. Only a breeze, the scent of wet grass, and a feeling I hadn't felt in years. My heart pounded, not out of fear, but because I truly believed a part of Frosty was still with me, in a form I couldn't name, but couldn't deny. I began to believe that some things lie beyond logic, beyond probability, beyond time. We call them coincidences, but sometimes they are whispers from another world, telling us we are not alone, that we are on the right path, that nothing is meaningless. Have you ever experienced something so perfectly timed, so eerily accurate, that it gave you chills you couldn't explain? In the final part, I will share something the light revealed to me, not in words, but in deep, undeniable knowing. A message I believe everyone needs to hear, though only those who are ready will understand. Are you willing to hear that final message, even if it changes how you see life from this day forward? Do you want to know what I received from that light? It wasn't a voice, there were no words, but I understood completely. The message didn't come through my ears, it moved through every cell of my being. It wasn't like hearing something, it was like becoming it. And the message was this: you are not separate. You have never been abandoned. You are an irreplaceable part of love. Love is not a part of the universe, it is the very essence of the universe. Everything else, pain, hatred, envy, injustice, is just the echo of forgetting that love. God is not up above or far away. God is in every touch, every tear, every child's laugh, every act of forgiveness that needs no explanation. I didn't meet God, I returned to Him, like a drop of water, finally remembering it belongs to the ocean. Have you ever had the feeling that what you've been searching for all along was never actually apart from you? I used to think the purpose of life was to win, to overcome, to be recognized. But after dying and coming back, I know now the purpose of life isn't to prove anything. It's to love as much as you can, for as long as you are here. Forgive faster, say I love you sooner. Don't wait, because you never know how much time you have left. And more importantly, live as if every small action you take leaves a mark on someone's soul.
Since coming back, there are mornings when I sit silently for hours by the window, holding a cup of cold coffee, watching the sunlight crawl through the branches. I'm not searching for anything. I'm just there, present. And in that presence, I realize every shaft of light through the leaves, every birdsong, every cool breeze is a message from somewhere sacred. No words, no explanation, just a quiet reminder. You are alive. I've started writing down memories I once thought were meaningless, times I failed, moments I broke down, instances when I hurt others. I used to forget them or avoid them. Now I remember not to punish myself, but to forgive myself. Forgiveness is a form of love, too. And sometimes the hardest person to love is ourselves. Have you ever held the most wounded part of yourself and simply said, "I still love you"? I realized that the deepest message from God wasn't just love one another. It was this: see one another. Because sometimes a single moment of true presence, a look that says, "I see you," or a nod filled with compassion, can change the trajectory of someone's life. You don't have to save the world. You just have to truly show up for someone, the way Frosty showed up for me, the way Anna still shows up for me, even though she's never spoken a single word. We keep waiting for some grand miracle, a dramatic sign, a voice from the heavens. But maybe the real miracle is opening your eyes each morning and still having the chance to choose love. Death taught me that every choice echoes, from a raised eyebrow to a kind word, from holding your silence at the right moment to placing a hand gently on someone's shoulder. We are small creatures, but every act we make, if rooted in love, has the power to touch eternity. You're sitting somewhere right now, among millions of people, amidst billions of thoughts, and you're still reading these final lines. Maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe, like I was back then, you need a reminder that you are worthy of love, that you are not broken, that the light never left you. You just forgot to look up. If that's true, then try looking up right now, not to search for the light far away, but to find the light within you, the light that not even death can extinguish. I'm not sharing this so you'll believe me. I'm sharing it so you'll remember yourself. You were once a child who believed in wonder, who had faith without conditions, who felt at home in the universe. Then you grew up, you forgot, and you called it maturity, but it was only dust. The truth is still there beneath it all, inside you. And if you're willing to be still, truly still, you'll hear it, just as I did. In that final moment, when all the noise faded and only one whisper remained, you have been loved since the very beginning. If you're still here, reading to this last sentence, then maybe you felt it too. Maybe you haven't died. But maybe in one quiet moment when you were at your loneliest, when you thought all was lost, you saw a flicker of light, a hug, a look, something that told you you were never truly alone. So the real question isn't whether there's life after death. The question is, are you willing to live this life as if it's a miracle? Because if death is where I learned I had never been abandoned, then life is where you are called to learn how to trust again, to trust in love, to trust in presence, to trust in yourself. And Frosty, if you can hear me, wherever you are, I just want to say thank you. You didn't save my life once, you saved it twice. If you've ever had a strange moment that gave you chills, that made you wonder, is someone trying to tell me something? Then don't brush it off. Maybe it's a calling to come home. The only question left is, are you ready to listen?